Hello and welcome to this AE Basics tutorial in which we're going to look at the wonderful new mask feather tool which is only available from After Effects CS6 and above. Unfortunately it's not available in previous versions. For a long time we haven't been able to control mask feathers in After Effects. If I just quickly have a look at CS5, you see we've got a mask here and we've got the feather, and as we start to feather it, it feathers from the middle going inwards a bit and outwards a bit. But we don't have any control as to whether it's all out or all in. It's just going to feather around that particular point and we can't vary it. There's no way that I can change the mask feather over here as comparison to over here. Whereas in CS6 we've got a brand new tool which allows us to do just that. It's a superb tool, something we've been waiting for a long time. So I'm going to create a new layer, so layer new solid or Command or Control Y, and again I'm going to take the rectangle tool just up here and I'm going to create a rectangle, and immediately we've got a mask, and if you open up the mask you'll see that you've got the same features as before, but this is not where you find the mask feather tool. The mask feather tool is linked in with the pen tool. The keyboard shortcut for the pen tool, which is up here, is G, and if I just drop down you'll have a look and see, you'll see that now G will toggle between the pen tool and the new mask feather tool. So as you can see it's found ganged with the pen tool. So, if we hit G to get the mask feather tool, and you go over the edge of a mask, you'll see that you get the plus sign. And that means that a mask feather point is going to be added. Now, one point is going to affect the whole shape, but if you click and hold your left mouse button, don't let go and pull up, you'll see that it feathers outwards only. But I haven't let go of my mouse button now. If I continue to pull downwards, I can feather inwards only. You can see that it does feather in completely to the middle, but when you get to the middle you can see it starts to jump between sides, and if you get to points, say we did the star tool, you'd find that it wants to jump between different points and different sides. And you can also see that you've got lines that still sort of feather right out to the individual vertices. So although it does feather in, it still does leave you with those minor lines, but this can still be controlled to a greater extent. So at the moment I'm going to go back up to the top and just pull out. Now I'm going to let go of my left mouse button, and when I do, this point has now become an external mask feather point. I can pull it to the mask, but I can't go inside. It will only affect the mask externally, going outwards from the mask. But that doesn't mean that I can't add a lot more points. For instance, if I only want to feather a particular area, I can click just here on the line and get another mask point, and that pulls the masks down and takes it all the way around the shape to this side, and again I can do the same this side. And all of a sudden the mask is brought in and just only feathered at this particular point. Now if I then want to take another side and pull it internally, I can still click, say on this edge, and pull it inside. The whole thing's going to try and go, but in exactly the same way as we did these points for the external. Again I can click here, and I can click here, and I've managed to just feather a little bit of my mask. Now, if you look at this line up here, you'll see that the tension of the line is quite slack. It rounds off nicely. We have control over how tense this line becomes. And that is done by hovering over the point, and then hit the Alt key on a PC, the Option key on a Mac, and then you'll see that you've got the option to slide sideways. And as you do, I want you to have a look over in the info panel. As I click and I start to pull, you'll see that the tension is increasing to 100%, and as it does you'll see that the line has gone quite straight between the points. But if I pull them out again, you'll see that it becomes completely slack with no tension at zero. So holding the Alt key whilst dragging side to side will change the tension of the point. However, if I was to hold the Alt key and pull up, so create a new point and pull up, I'm outline drawing. So rather than the shape being instantly filled, as soon as I let go of the mouse while still holding the Alt key, you'll see that it fills in. So dragging up and down is outline drawing, whereas if you hover over the key, hit the Alt key or the Option key on the Mac, and pull sideways, you're adjusting the tension of that line. And as you can see, by default it's got no tension, but you can change that tension to 100%. Now another option you have on these points, if you right click on a point, as well as being able to change the tension, the radius and the corner angle at this point, you also get the option to create a hold point. And if I click hold, what it does is it says you may not change value until another point is reached. So I actually get, in this case, a step change. If I change this particular one to a hold point, you'll see that it will go right across and then drop down to this point here. So if I do the same, right click, hold, and it interpolates it across and down. This can create some very interesting looks, as you can probably see. However, at the moment I'm going to unhold that one and unhold that one so that we've got a more organic shape to our layer. One more thing to show you is if you look over this side here between these two vertices, so we've got one section of our mask. If I hover over that, and I've got the plus sign showing me that I could add a point, and I hold the shift key, you'll see that I get a completely different icon. The feather stays the same, but I get two plus signs and an arrow between them. And what that's telling me is that as I pull out, a new point is going to be created at one of the vertexes, and it is going to be a hold one which will not change until it reaches the next vertex. So the vertex at the bottom probably will pull out, and it will stay whatever level I pull it to until it reaches the next vertex. So let's do that. Hover over and pull out, and as you can see, between these 2 points we've got a hold keyframe, which is this sort of squarish look here. It's not completely square, it's just showing us the angle that it's going in. So that's how we can pull out an individual edge. So I could do it if I wanted to this bottom edge as well. Pull that out. Now it appears that this one's gone, but in actual fact if you click on it and just move it slightly, you'll bring it back into play. This is an early version of After Effects, I'm sure this will be smoothed out later, but if it does disappear, just click on the vertex and pull it until it reappears. And you can create, as you can see, some very interesting looks just by adding points as and when you want them. So that's how we can create bits and pieces. Let's have a look at a practical example now. I'm going to go to this particular composition where I have got some footage from HollywoodCameraWork.us, an excellent site for training directors and for providing free footage that we can play with and learn on. This particular footage here is called Go Diva Wide, and it shows a problem that you sometimes get. And the problem is that your item that you're trying to key out is actually very close to some items that if you over feather will start to come into shot. So what I need to do is draw a mask around this lady to get rid of the background elements, but have a small feather on this side, whereas I can have a lovely big feather on this side to make it as smooth as possible. So let's take our pen tool, so G will toggle to the pen tool, and I can start clicking and dragging and creating my mask. Okay, so there's my mask. Now I'm ready to start dealing with the feather. Remember, I want a small feather over here, but I might want quite a big feather over here. Actually, the first thing I'm going to do is pull this one in. This is a bit too far over. There we go. So I can now hit the G key to toggle the feather tool and pull out a little bit from this side. Don't want to pull too far because obviously I'll start to pull things in. And as you can see, I'm quite close to the foot of that fan at the bottom. So if I just give myself a little one there, I can actually feather inwards a little bit perhaps at this stage. Again, I can pull that back out there, and if I want to I can pull it back out there, or if I felt more like it I can pull it in here, and I just play around with it to get whatever level I like. So I can click here and give myself a wider feather at the top there. So I can play around, and of course this is completely animatable. So if I open up my mask and open up mask path 1 and go forwards a couple of seconds, so she's changed angle, so let's look at say 3 seconds there. And let's play around with our points. So I'm actually going to get my selection tool by hitting the V key, and I'm going to highlight one of my points, that particular point, maybe pull that in a little bit. And just to demonstrate this, I'm actually going to pull this feather right in to give you a real feel for how it looks. And maybe I can pull that feather out a bit more. No, I want to pull that feather in as well. And maybe pull this feather in a tad there at the bottom. And this feather perhaps in a bit more there. So just a real change, and you'll see that as I go between the two, the feather points as well as the vertices have been animated, and we can create whatever we want to create by playing with these different points. So as you can see, this is a really practical tool, particularly when you have a problem when you need to have a different size feather on one side of the mask and to the other. And the other advantage I like about it is it's not locked to vertices. So I don't have to have my feather point linked to a vertex. I can have my feather point wherever I want it to be, and I can add additional vertexes as I like, and hit the G key to get back to the feather tool, to pull things in if I feel I need to be able to create a better look or a different look to get the smoothest result for the work that I'm doing. One last thought. This is a really powerful tool, not just for creating masks and feathering them, but also for creating some more esoteric looks or some more creative looks. If I go to this first composition, I've been playing with a whole bunch of layers, plus I've got trapcode form going through the middle of what I've done. Then hit my C for camera tool and just go through what I've got. And I've got 3 layers that I've moved in Z space with a bit of form going through the middle, just playing around with the feather tool to create some really weird and wonderful shapes. If I go through the shapes one by one, this is the top shape. Actually click on the mask, you can see what it looked like. So that was drawn with a pen tool, and I pulled out all the various bits and pieces just to get a different look, a different feel. Let's look at the next one. This one here. Click on that one. That was just a rectangle that I pulled out 4 sides to get a completely different look. And if we look at the last one, I think that was actually originally a star. Yep, that was originally a star. If we solo that layer, you can see that I was able to pull out angles in all kinds of different ways and play with the handles. Actually click on the mask, you can see the way that I've been playing with these handles to get a completely different look. Now, add them all together, add something else in the middle, and remember to put blend modes on the top and the bottom, because obviously with a rotating camera you could be looking through the top layer, but you could also be looking through the bottom layer, and so you can have different blend modes for top and bottom. You can create something that can look quite weird and wonderful, or very creative, or, well, use your imagination, use your creativity to create things that look amazing. Well, I hope you found this tutorial useful and that you're going to be using this tool all the time. I certainly know I am. My name's Andrew Devis. Thank you for watching.